Picture this: Pattie Boyd, the radiant muse who inspired some of the most iconic love songs in music history, sitting down to reveal the painful truths behind her once enchanting marriage to George Harrison. To the outside world, they were the perfect couple, beauty and talent entwined in a fairy tale of rock and roll glamour. But behind the closed doors of their grand estate, the cracks in their relationship ran deep, exposing a reality far removed from the idyllic photographs splashed across glossy magazines. At first, their love seemed unshakable. Harrison, the quiet Beatle with a mystic aura, swept Boyd off her feet with his gentle charm and deep spiritual devotion. But as the years wore on, his dedication to his music and spirituality eclipsed their relationship. Harrison's obsession with meditation and Eastern philosophy, while enlightening for his soul, left Boyd feeling abandoned, longing for the man she had once fallen in love with. What began as a union of two kindred spirits soon devolved into a cold, distant coexistence. Boyd watching helplessly as Harrison retreated further into his inner world. And then there were the affairs. Harrison's reputation as the most reserved member of the Beatles belied a darker truth. His infidelities were an open secret in their social circle. Flirtations turned into full-blown affairs, and the emotional toll on Boyd became unbearable. She endured the humiliation of seeing her husband's roving eye fixate on other women, including, shockingly, Ringo Starr's wife, Maureen. The betrayal cut deep, and yet Boyd, ever the loyal partner, clung to the hope that he would change. But the more she fought to hold their marriage together, the more it crumbled under the weight of unspoken resentments and unfulfilled needs. While Harrison's conflicts within his marriage were tumultuous, they were only part of the larger struggles that plagued his life. Fame, once something he reluctantly embraced as a Beatle, became a burden he could never quite shake off. The constant demands of stardom, the endless public scrutiny, and the relentless pressure to outshine his former bandmates gnawed at him. He wanted to be seen as an artist beyond the Beatles, yet the world refused to let him escape the shadow of his past. His bandmates, too, became sources of tension. Paul McCartney, whose controlling tendencies clashed with Harrison's more introspective style, was a point of constant friction during their years in the band. Harrison's desire to carve his own path was often stifled by McCartney's dominance in the studio, leaving him feeling sidelined and unappreciated. The release of All Things Must Pass, Harrison's triumphant solo debut, was his declaration of independence. But even then, the specter of the Beatles loomed large over him. Outside of the Beatles, Harrison's relationships with fellow musicians were equally fraught. Despite his deep admiration for Eric Clapton, their friendship was tinged with heartache and betrayal. Clapton's infamous pursuit of Boyd, culminating in their eventual affair and marriage, only deepened the wounds that Harrison had been nursing for years. Though publicly he maintained a facade of acceptance, the personal betrayal left an undeniable scar. Harrison's search for spiritual fulfillment was well documented, but beneath the serene exterior of meditation and devotion lay a restless soul grappling with inner demons. His devotion to Indian mysticism brought him peace, but it also served as an escape from the painful realities of his personal life. He sought refuge in the company of spiritual leaders, often retreating from the world in an attempt to find meaning beyond material success. However, this spiritual quest came at a cost. As his devotion to his gurus deepened, it created further distance between him and those closest to him. Friends and family who once shared in his journey began to feel alienated by his unwavering commitment to a path that seemed to exclude them. His quest for enlightenment often clashed with his worldly desires, leading to moments of profound contradiction. Sermons about detachment followed by indulgences in the very excesses he claimed to reject. Harrison's struggle with substance abuse during the late 16s and early 17s further complicated his spiritual journey. While not as publicized as those of his bandmates, his use of drugs as a means to deepen his spiritual experiences often blurred the line between enlightenment and escapism. The man who once preached peace and love was, at times, caught in a spiral of self-doubt and internal conflict that he struggled to reconcile. In his later years, George Harrison sought refuge in the quiet embrace of family life, yearning for the peace he had so desperately chased throughout his turbulent career. His marriage to Olivia Harrison offered a sense of stability he had long craved, but the shadows of his past loomed large, casting a pall over even his most intimate. The wounds left by his failed marriage to Pattie Boyd never truly healed. They lingered beneath the surface, manifesting in fleeting doubts and moments of self-reflection that often pulled him away from the present. Trust, a concept that had once seemed so simple, became an ongoing struggle, his mind trapped in a cycle of longing for connection and fear. Olivier, a steadfast presence in his life, bore witness to the internal war raging within him, offering support even as Harrison retreated into his own world of music and meditation. Fatherhood provided him with a new sense of purpose, but even in this role, Harrison found himself torn between duty and passion. His devotion to his son, Donnie, was evident in the gentle guidance and wisdom he imparted, yet his restless spirit could never fully be tamed. His music still called to him, whispering promises of escape and fulfillment, while his lifelong spiritual pursuits demanded more of his time and energy. There were moments of quiet joy, playing music with Donnie, sharing stories of his Beatles days, but they were often interrupted by the ever-looming weight of his public persona. Fame, despite his best efforts, clung to him like an unshakable shadow, intruding upon his personal sanctuary and pulling him back into the relentless gaze of the world. As the years passed, Harrison's health began to betray him in ways that mirrored the emotional toll of his past. A lifetime of smoking, late nights, and the relentless pursuit of inner peace came at a devastating cost. When he was diagnosed with cancer, the news hit like a cruel twist of fate. Another battle he was forced to face, another test of his quiet resilience. And despite his physical decline, he met the disease with the same stoic determination that had carried him through his most difficult years. But behind closed doors, the reality was far bleaker. The weight of mortality pressed down on him, stirring fears of unfinished business, unresolved conflicts, and a legacy that, in his mind, still felt incomplete. He pushed forward, seeking solace in meditation and the unwavering support of Olivia, but the battle against time was one he could not win. And just when he thought he had found some semblance of peace in his final years, tragedy struck in the most horrifying way imaginable. In December 1999, the sanctuary of his beloved Friar Park estate was shattered when an intruder broke into his home and viciously attacked him with a knife. The violent encounter left Harrison with deep physical wounds, but the emotional scars ran even deeper. The incident reinforced his long-standing fear that fame was an inescapable curse, a force that would follow him to his very last breath. Olivia's brave intervention saved his life that night, but in the aftermath, Harrison was left shaken, haunted by the realization that despite his best efforts to retreat from the public eye, he could never truly escape it. The attack left him more reclusive than ever, forcing him to confront the fragility of life and the unsettling reality that his years of searching for peace had only led him to a cycle of fleeting moments of happiness, overshadowed by pain. As he struggled with his declining health, he grew more reflective, often wondering if he had spent too much time chasing spiritual fulfillment at the expense of his personal relationships. Friends and family watched helplessly as the once vibrant musician withdrew further, his body weakened but his mind still restless. Even in his final days, as he faced the inevitable with grace and dignity, there was an air of unfinished longing, a desire for something just beyond his grasp. George Harrison's later years were a paradox of tranquility and turmoil, a delicate balance between the solace he sought in his family and the ghosts that continued to haunt him. Though he found moments of love and fulfillment, they were always accompanied by the weight of regret and the lingering whispers of a life lived at full throttle, yet somehow still incomplete. George Harrison's life was a study in contrasts, a man who sought peace but often found conflict, who craved simplicity but was ensnared by complexity, and who preached love but struggled to maintain it in his personal life. His legacy, though filled with musical brilliance, is also marked by regrets, heartbreaks, and unresolved tensions that followed him until his final days. As Pattie Boyd's revelations peel back the layers of myth that surrounded him, they reveal a man of extraordinary talent but also extraordinary flaws. Harrison's journey was not just one of musical innovation, but of deep human struggle, a search for something greater that he could never quite grasp. George Harrison was more than just a Beatle. He was a man caught between the allure of fame and the desire for something beyond it. His story serves as both an inspiration and a warning, a reminder that even those who seem to have it all can find themselves searching for something they can never truly attain.